Development Authority of the City of Lynchburg. We'll start the morning with roll call and a call to order. I am here. John Stone.
Here.
Pat Mosby.
Here.
Kim Sorensen.
Here.
George Ann Sneed.
Here.
Richard Tugman.
Here.
And Bill Lovern is absent. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the April 21, 2022 meeting. I hope everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes, and does anyone have any corrections, additions, deletions, etc.?
Motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, John. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kim. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of the nominating committee for next year's slate of officers. Ms. Upshur, do we have our nominating?
You're supposed to name the nominating committee, but I would suggest that the nominating committee perhaps be Kim and George Ann, if they would agree to do that.
And ladies?
I agree. Sure. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Ms. Sneed. Thank you, Ms. Sorensen. The nominating committee has been presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting Ms. Sorensen, Ms. Sneed as members of the nominating committee for the new 2022-23 slate of officers signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thank you, ladies. Next item on the agenda is the 109 Ramsey Place lease. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Checked off before. Anna.
Great. So you all have before you a draft of the FY 2023 budget, operating budget for the organization. The Finance Committee, this was presented as a draft to the Finance Committee at their April meeting. And everyone has had a chance to look at it in advance of this meeting as well. You do not have to take action on this budget today. You can if you want to, or you can defer it to the June meeting. We just want to try to have it approved before July 1. So you have time to spend some more time with it, or you can go ahead and vote to approve it. Only slight changes from questions from the Finance Committee are in the, we removed some unannounced projects from the encumbered incentives line item. Other than that, it looks the same as when the Finance Committee saw it in April.
Does anyone have any questions for discussion or questions for Ms. Benson or Ms. Upshur?
And Anna, you might want to just, for whatever, how your formula goes for the income, the difference in the income from one year to the next.
I will take that. There are just a couple changes in income. And these are what I do is I look at our actuals through April. And then for this current fiscal year, and then average that over a 12-month period. So your interest income has been reduced a little bit. This is particularly coming from the Virginian interest loans. That's about half what it was the year before because those balances are being reduced. The bond fee income is ticked up just a little bit based on bonds that you all have outstanding. The pass-through incentive income is primarily the Virginian and Rosedale, and those are just simply pass-through from the city to the EDA to the projects. Rental income is significantly lower, is projected to be significantly lower at this point. You guys are going to discuss this at this meeting, but primarily that is because the lease for 109 Ramsey Place only extends through November of 2022. So we're only budgeting income through November. That may change, but for now that is the best projection. Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm jumping forward to the next item a little bit, but with BWXT's request on their lease, they're not committing to that first 6 months yet. They're just asking for the lease to be amended, that they have that option.
I'm asking you all just to allow us to proceed with negotiations with them on the lease.
And we wouldn't expect them to commit to that next 6 months until after we've already finalized this budget, correct?
Correct. Just felt like it was prudent to put in what we know now, and that may change.
In your discussions with the PWXT facilities folks, is that what we kind of foresee as 6 months at a time until
No,
they?
that's what their real estate agent has come forward and asked Rick Reed about. No facilities person involved.
Gotcha.
So, it may be better.
Certainly not less.
This is worst case scenario,
This is worst
Kim.
Correct.
I like
We just
that. I
decided to
like
go for the
budgets.
gusto and not have any surprises and
Mhm.
leave it there.
Well, I prefer accurate budgets
Yeah,
and be
absolutely.
pleasantly surprised.
Would anyone like to make a motion to accept the budget at this meeting, or would the group feel better about deferring to the June meeting?
Is everyone comfortable with this budget?
It has been reviewed by Finance Committee, and Finance Committee's comfortable with it.
Signed off on it.
Okay.
Is there a
So,
motion?
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Richard. We've had a motion made and a second to accept the 2023 budget as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Budget is accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was jumping ahead a little early, but the next item on the agenda is the 109 Ramsey Place lease. Subshire.
So, the lease for 109 Ramsey Place, as Anna mentioned, is up in November of 2022. And they are in the process of, they have a new, it's not a new building, but they have a building. It probably was theirs when it was constructed back in the day. And they're just coming back full circle. But anyway, it's a 150,000 square foot building there, and that now belongs to them, that they are repurposing. And therefore, they have come forward and asked if they could renegotiate the lease with the EDA, and in lieu of a 12-month lease, which, if you remember, this is probably the 12th year that they've leased this space from us, and the past 2 years, 2019 was the first time they ever went longer than 1 year. Right, so I think they had a 1-year lease with a 12-month extension on it in 2019. But prior to that, it was always year-to-year lease. So now they are asking for 6 months with another 6 months extension available to them. So their real estate agent has come to Rick, who is representing the EDA on this property. And so at this point, there is no document or lease, anything for me to give Ted. I just want, Rick had recommended that we had said, to entertain that, but with a slight uptick in the cost of the lease, as well as the ability to perhaps, and it would have to be measured, but show the building during that time. So I think we've already discussed, and we probably will discuss a little more at a retreat, that the building, more than likely would go back to a manufacturing facility in lieu of office space to be marketable. But, we can get drawings and do things like that before we make any commitment to physically change it, and somebody might come in and want to do it themselves. That's what BWXT did. So at this point, it is just to make you aware and for Rick to go back and negotiate. So nothing's final. They may not accept that. There's all kind of things that can happen, but at least we're starting ahead of the game. So to clarify, this
space is currently rented and the extension of the lease is requested or hoped for because their other facility that they purchased is not ready to relocate
Correct.
to right now. Maybe another year.
I've just asked Rex to take his time.
And you can show while it's still occupied by BWXT.
Yeah, I mean,
That would be fair.
it's a very secure
Yes, part-
facility, so we would be very measured in any approach to do that. And there may be real reasons why they can't allow that to happen, but
Sure.
we are just going to ask, and in the meantime, we would certainly, go in and try to have some conceptual drawings done of what the space could be again.
Understood.
Just out of interest, is it fully occupied now? Are they using all of the space?
Yes.
But then would be an increase in the rents if they do the 6 months?
That's just a suggestion,
Okay,
right? And you may need to recuse yourself from this vote, perhaps.
gotcha.
Ask
Yes.
Ted.
What Pat ought to do is use herself.
Well, I definitely think we should move forward with the negotiation. It's a much better deal for us to get 6 months at a time than 0 months.
The
Yes,
zero.
And
absolutely.
people are not gonna be knocking down the door to try to get in there.
Mm-mm.
It's a very large place.
Mhm.
Once B&W does give notice that they're vacating, it's up to them to put the building back as they found it, or that's on us or whoever the new owners.
You said they were like cubicles in it.
They're like removable cubicles?
Yeah, I don't think there's been a whole lot of structural work done. I think they've done they certainly took the manufacturing space and have converted that. But I don't, I don't.
Not walls necessarily.
Yeah, or it may be walls, but I think where they put I haven't walked through the building in its entirety, because they've done several things. They had a really open area where, they had a large either conference room or an area where things could be presented and you could watch it, through the glass, which was over near the manufacturing area there. And then they didn't need that anymore, and they did if you all remember correctly, they did a very small project where they asked you all to float them whatever that construction was gonna cost, and it was like $100,000 for whatever they did. Yeah, they paid us back. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was back in rent.
If this is something we need to vote on, I'll make a motion to approve.
All those in favor of accepting the extension negotiations or asking them to continue, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move forward. Next item on the agenda is the VTC Sports Marketing Incentive Program. Ms. Upshur?
Okay. The Virginia Tourism Corporation has an incentive program that is funded by ARPA money, much larger than anything they've ever had before. And we have asked the EDA to be to apply for the grant in lieu of having that go through city council and have to be allocated. It really holds things up. We have a very short window of time here in order to, first of all, for them to get the regs out of, how to apply for it. And we are working right now with Liberty on some large events that meet the criteria, meaning they've never been here before, but we're waiting to make sure that they're on board But we have to be ready to move on it as quickly as possible. So right now, if, no pressure, but if you all don't do it, it won't happen. We won't be able to do it because council takes away, I mean, that would just be an onerous task to be able to work through them. You all have done this before with Virginia Tourism Corporation for a marketing grant. And what this does is this grant would just help us to offset the expenses that it takes to bring one of these really large sporting events that's probably nationally televised to the area. And there are certain things that Liberty, just due to their status with a conference and things like that, that they can't participate in. So we walk alongside them and work on those. So the main thing would be we'll apply for it. We don't know if we'll get it. We don't know any of that, but we will throw our hat in the ring in it. And the due date is June.
May 31st.
May 31st, sorry.
Is there any exposure to us in terms of applying for this grant?
No match required or anything, Richard.
And this grant would be purely to support bid fees.
It's
that
probably,
correct?
there's a list of things it can support to offset, right? And it's a long list.
We'll have approval of what the money's gonna be spent on before it's spent.
We can do that.
Yes.
We can bring you back a budget for the program, we just don't have the.
Right, you don't have it
we
yet,
don't-
I'm sure.
Correct, we don't have the RFP yet,
Right.
so, but we know what eligible expenses we can charge, and it is a reimbursement, so we won't, you do something ineligible that we wouldn't be paid back for.
Okay.
But the grant is purely for marketing. It wouldn't be for expenses associated with actually managing an event once you are in the event, or potentially it could be for some of that.
It potentially could be.
Yeah, it's not just marketing the event.
Is there a
It could be-
specific dollar amount in the grant request?
We're gonna apply for, our plan is to apply for two championships. And we may apply for up to $100,000.
Per event or total?
Just for one event, and then another we might apply for up to, I think, 25. They don't have any maximums on this program. It's very
Fluid.
It's no separate
fluid is a
audit.
great word.
No separate audit requirement.
There is a, no separate audit requirement, correct. The way that VTC is asking you to submit requests is based on the attendance of the event, and these championships are, tens of thousands. And so above like 2,500, it just says you can ask for as much as you want. So we're gonna ask for what we want, and so
So
we
we
can.
applied for a grant, two grants, if that's
Mhm.
correct. And then we applied those monies, if we are successful in that application, or applications towards these
Towards
events.
eligible expenses for hosting
For
these
these events,
Right.
okay, which are associated with this broader view or this broader plan, bringing these sorts of events to Lynchburg and this conference centre and the rest of it.
Yes.
Providing tax revenue
Yeah, sure.
in return, sure. Would it cover things like hidden costs, like employment?
No, you can't, it could, and mostly eligible expenses there are things like if there's a bid fee, hosting costs for coaches, teams, transportation costs,
Venue costs,
things like that.
I mean, they look down the list like that because if you're doing this, you're probably partnering with a facility, and the facility, of course, could offer up, reduced fees or no fee. I mean, so you're trying to put the whole package together in order, because you're enticing it to move from somewhere that has a lot more, probably experience in doing this or has hosted it for a really long time.
And John, you asked about marketing expenses. Marketing expenses would not be something we would use these funds for because the conferences market, the whole purpose is that they have a televised schedule. They bring the marketing machine. So it might be hosting media, it might be things like that, but not us marketing.
So this is a totally different Commonwealth Games, or does it have some similarities to how the Commonwealth, the
Nothing is like
affiliation?
the Commonwealth Games, and we would probably never do that again. The same way, you learn as you go along.
As you go.
So to your point, your question, Ted, too, is we can come, I mean, once we actually put this together, so we're asking you to agree to be the fiscal agent, but we can also bring this back to you as a, you know, we have secured this is the budget for it, and this is, you know, how those funds will be spent. Unfortunately, that's not, you know, we apply,
You don't have that information.
we don't have that information yet.
Yeah, and it's taken a shot, right? It's like, it took.
We may not get
You're
it.
competing
We may
with
not
other
get anything,
localities.
and it was really difficult to get Liberty on board in terms of, you know, really thinking that this is something, you know, real that we all could do. So to me, just going through the effort of doing this shows them how serious we are about partnering with them to bring these events to the city. Because they're game-changing events.
Were they hesitant about hosting such a large event?
I
Or
think
they
they're
were
just-
hesitant, just thinking, if we want to do it, we'll do it on our own, we don't want to participate with somebody else?
I think maybe a little bit of both, you know, perhaps because they're, you know, they're used to us, you know, coming along and, you know, packing a bag or
Supporting.
putting a gift basket. No, we're here. We're real. We're here to play. I mean, we're here on the behalf of the city, right? There's a lot of things that can be done here. It's just opening those lines of communication. And Winter was really helpful in that too. He's been right there beside me,
Good.
you know, making sure, and you know, that's a very, very large organization. And so getting to the right person that can say, we'll do this, and how in the world did you get a foot in the door? But we did.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Do we have a motion? Thank you, Georgianne. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of approving the office to continue forward with this endeavor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck, ladies.
Thank you.
And that motion authorizes the chairman to execute the application.
Yes.
Okay. We'll add
Whoever
did.
made that motion.
My-
We'll add
it
that
did.
amendment
My
to the-
motion
to the-
included,
Go
yes,
ahead.
authorize the chair to,
Thank you, Georgianne.
absolutely.
Last item on the agenda is staff report. Ms. Upshur and Ms. Benson.
This is in no way a reflection of how busy we are. So the 2023 budget was passed. We had back on the tourism side, I really see tourism to just really, with the new brand campaign, tourism is just really, taking off in an entirely different way when we can bring people together and try to focus them. So we had a stakeholder meeting. It was the best attended one we've ever had. We brought in, Ann and I scrubbed the list with the rest of staff to make sure we were inviting all of the folks that are not just hoteliers, but restaurants, attractions, arts and culture, everybody, to the table, whereas that might have been, and they might have attempted before, but because it's a two-way street. And what I had found from looking through all of the documents and everything was that, there were an awful lot of entities that expect you to do the work, but they weren't participating. And they weren't giving us what their attendance numbers were or, what they brought to the table. They weren't putting our visitor guides in their lobby. It's a two-way street. Doesn't work if everybody doesn't work together. So Lynchburg has a tendency sometimes to cast a stone and then not participate. I'm from here, so I feel like I can say that with all due respect. The new U.S. Chef store opened, and we went out there to welcome them. I was very excited because of where that building sits out there on Woods Road, where the, what was it? Office Max. But anyway, that was very exciting. And River's Edge Furniture owns the building at 403 Fifth Street, and if you see it going down, it's beautiful. That was actually one of our brownfield grants. Went to them when the original owner was going to sell the building to River's Edge. They came down to see me, and we helped them with the previous owner that they were going to buy from, of getting those phase 1 and phase 2, because it was automotive use previously. So that's a really wonderful private sector repurpose of a building that had some challenges. So no, it's the building on the corner of Court right there, near the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. It's right there on the corner. It was an automotive building, had all kinds of old Moser. Is that right? Moser Marine used to be in, yeah, exactly. So we had the Hunden group here to look at the site visit for conference center. That was a whirlwind. We took them all over the city. And we will have the FY23 budget has a paid intern position for an anchor, kind of, it'll be a white paper on how town and gown can function better, and, how an anchor strategy, look at that a little more in depth. So stay tuned for when that person will come on board. Anna is working. She's one of the co-chairs. The Virginia Economic Developers Association is coming to Lynchburg for their fall conference in this fall. And the 15 CloudFit summer interns will begin work in late May, like May 23rd, that you all help sponsor, and 9 of them are Lynchburg residents. So it's amazing. And there'll be a lot more. We'll talk a lot about that, because this is like a really great thing to, help people that are already here know, open their eyes to what there is to do and see and why it's cool to stay here, but also bringing people in from outside and do some work with them. Alicia's looked at some programs. I think it's in New River Valley or somewhere you sent to me. It was really cool how they'd kind of embraced like outdoor activities and all kinds of things. So it could work for anybody that is looking at bringing interns in or looking at bringing talent in. How do we make these people feel at home and want to stay here? Anna and Emmeline have been working. We signed a joint advertising contract with the Lynchburg Regional Airport. So we'll be at Liberty football. That's a big deal, y'all. We would have never been able to afford that back in the day. So, Liberty's on in a national spotlight. And so any of these things that we can do are amazing. On that same note, we, for the first time, were set up a table at Liberty's commencement. We've never done that before. So that was incredible, the number of people coming through there. It's estimated at 60,000 people came in for that. And ran like a top, too. So, I even got there. But I'm just saying, you've been told to stay away from Woods Road or anything over there, and I just came right in, got in the parking space. And I don't know that there was another.
I think we were the only external provider at check-in, which was really nice.
Yeah, that was incredible. And then Kim hosted Senator Kane at Riverviews, and we worked with them to bring people to the table there. I thought that was a really great event. It was a diverse group of businesses and folks there. And then we went to, the Virginian had a staff meeting or their town hall where they recognized their employees. And they invited us there to share the Lynchburg Loves You brand with them. They're gonna actually let us have room next to Moore and Giles. That's pretty. Merchandise next to Moore and Giles in their lobby. They've embraced all of this. It's so wonderful. And I'll just say, you know, when you're standing in that ballroom, when you know what it was before, and you look out at the faces of 90 people that are employed in that place right now, I mean, it's sobering to think about what that was and the scars that I still have from it. Thank you very much. And then speaking of the Commonwealth Games, they're gonna have their VIP reception, oh boy, at the greenhouse, which is beside Crisp. Oh.
You all receive invitations to that shortly. Save the date.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a very
Yep.
unique place.
Yes, it
inside.
is,
It's
Kim.
very
You
cool.
are so kind.
Cool.
It's very cool.
It's not the track. That's where it's been before.
Yeah.
So,
If I may, this falls into the anecdotal category, but I was flying back into Lynchburg. I couldn't fly out of Lynchburg because there were no availability for flights out, but I flew back in the other night, and as I was picking up my luggage, I noticed the screens, the sequencing, the breakdancing, and it was really well done. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, all of you know.
Lynchburg Loves You. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have been more specific.
Yep, all of you know that over the years, if it hadn't been for the EDA, there would be no marketing event, you know, even back in the day from the economic development standpoint, and certainly not the cooperation that we have at the airport and the things we, you know, really should be doing, all rowing in the same direction and all that. So it's really, the collaborations and everything are coming along, right? Even when I'm talking about the stakeholders, I just think people are unaware as to what they're supposed to do, right? They just, that hasn't been a part of it, and once you bring it to their attention, they go, oh yeah, I would have been doing that all along if I knew that that's what, you know, what you were looking for. But I mean, just a lot of opportunities out there right now. Just need to be able to take advantage of them, and you all really help us to be able to do that. So. Thank you all for all. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Craddock, do you have any items for closed session today? Okay, with there being none, right now we've finished the business of the regularly scheduled meeting for May 19 of 2022. Does anyone have any items they'd like to bring before we adjourn? Okay. Everybody have a great week. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
The